All right, well, Rob, we're about a week out from the fight, but when did you arrive here in Las Vegas?
Sunday, so this previous Sunday. It's about 6 days ago, I think.
Okay, and we're filming this on a Friday, so about 2 weeks ahead of your fight. How did you decide sort of what your strategy was going to be in terms of coming over from Australia and getting ready for this fight?
Yeah, it's always very important. Well, I guess first and foremost, this is my first rodeo, right? This isn't the first time I've been to Vegas or had to prepare to fight in the States. So I'm very aware of making sure climatizing and getting my sleep patterns down right and just feeling comfortable in the area is like very important. So to make sure we give ourselves 14 days, especially with everything going around now. You don't know how the pandemic has affected Vegas and the routine and things from previous trips. So being able to come early and just adjust and climatize is very important.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned obviously that the circumstances are a little different than previous times that you come to Vegas. And what kind of considerations did you have to put into sort of, coming here and acclimatizing, but also making sure that you were, taking care of yourself and being safe?
So, climatizing to the area and the times and the sleeping schedule is first and foremost, I guess. No, I say secondary, really, because with the pandemic, making sure we're healthy, we don't catch COVID, so that we can get to the fight was our highest priority. Because you see all the time fighters are having to pull out of the fight because they test positive week of, and that was a big concern of ours, especially coming over here. So we're making sure that we're putting all the precautions in place, such as like our own little isolation bubbles, minimal exposure, sort of things like that.
Mm-hmm. So how have you felt coming over here? Because it's always interesting to me to talk to guys who are coming from New Zealand or Australia, because it's been a different world over the last year, what you guys are experiencing over there and what we're experiencing here. You and I were saying, you flew into LA and then your flight was kind of full from LA to Vegas. So how have you kind of felt, I guess, coming over here, and what's it been like the differences?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's blown me away. The differences between how Australia has done its thing and handled the pandemic opposed to over here and experiencing and going through the terminals and everything. It's just, I guess, the primary thing with that is just the population is so much bigger over here. So going through LA airport, there's just people everywhere. How do you control that? It's and I jumped on the domestic flight and it was a full flight. Like every seat was taken up. It blew me away. So and obviously it was scratching that paranoia a little bit, especially because coming here and all that.
Mm-hmm. So you get in and we're at the Red Rock right now. Have you just been kind of like hanging out in your room? Like what's been sort of your routine over the next 7 days before you get into the UFC bubble then?
More or less, I don't leave the bedroom.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally. So obviously I do need supplies and things like that, but the coaching staff and my father, they go out and they go do the runabouts. But more or less, I'm happy just staying in my room. The only time I'll leave is for training if I have to.
Yeah. So it's like, even when COVID's away and we're not worried about it, you're still just going to be hanging out in your room.
More or less, it's the same thing. Like isolation for me is just how I live my life.
And when you go back, you still got to do 14 days, right? Quarantine?
Yeah. So there's a massive quarantine when we get home, which is why these trips, they feel so long because of the coming to acclimate and then having to leave and then isolate. It's just makes our work trips massive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask you, knowing that, did you consider bringing any family out? And then my question was answered right when you walked up because you had your pops here with you. What went into that decision? And does your father, he usually travels with you under normal times, right? Did he go to Fight Island with you last year?
No, he didn't. So he doesn't always come with me to the fights because it's a lot of running around and things like that. But he has previously. I guess the thought process behind bringing him around this trip was just I thought it'd be a good father-son sort of trip, to come to Vegas, get a fight, and go home together. Plus, because of isolation and everything, it's nice to have a buddy and you can speak to and whatnot.
For sure. Well, obviously, big fight against Kelvin Gastelum, a fight with some history. But before I get to that fight, I was just curious, man, about what were you anticipating out of Paulo Costa? That was just a fight that I was going to be interested about what your approach was and what his approach was. The fact that he came off that loss to Izzy. What were you anticipating out of him, when he was your opponent?
If I had to put a bet down, I would have said he's going to come in there and just go crazy. That's the fight I was kind of expecting, is him just to go ballistic. But honestly, it's all like it's for naught, right? It's I had a pretty reasonable, sound strategy to handle that, to handle him. People have tried going crazy on me before. It doesn't work very well. And Israel highlighted a lot of gaps Costa has in his play. So, but that's all. Whatever it is. Yeah,
and so we found out that it was changing to Kelvin about a month out. Is that same time frame as
More
you?
or less, yeah.
Yeah, and you did an interview with ESPN's Phil Murphy, and you said that your OCD kicked in a little bit. What did you mean by that when your opponent changes?
I hate last-minute changes. My wife knows better than anybody. I hate last-minute changes. So for the whole opponent to change just annoyed the hell out of me. You would not believe. But after I threw me a little tantrum, and I spoke to everybody about it. We still had plenty of time to adjust. Plus, I'm in the game to fight, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Based on what you said about Paulo just coming berserk at you, which is kind of, I got to be honest, what I was guessing you were going to say. That's how he had fought up to that point, and then he didn't do that against Izzy. So I was expecting a very aggressive version of Paulo too. Sounds like you were very comfortable in what you were going to face with him. Is this a more tricky fight to you?
Oh, I don't think it's more tricky. I think it's different. It is very different. Obviously, he's a southpaw, so it changes the whole game up. But also, it's very, very, very different fight styles and strategies and skill sets. This fight, I have to be smart about it. I can't just, because he's a top-level fighter. He is. He's had a rough couple of years, but he's a top-level fighter. I think he's one of the more dangerous middleweights. And fortunately, though, I was scheduled to fight him another time, so we had game plans from then still fresh, as well as I've had heaps of work with southpaws, I fought till recently. So that just gave me more confidence in preparing for him.
Do you like fighting southpaws, or is it an annoyance? Would you prefer to not fight a southpaw? How do you feel about just?
It doesn't matter. The pros and cons, right? There's good things to fighting Southies, and there's also like annoying things. Having to shift everything up last minute is a little bit annoying, but.
When you've trained for a 5-round title fight against a guy, but it's been 2 years, is it like riding a bike where you're just like, oh yeah, I remember the game plan, I remember everything that we were doing, or is it not like that? Because you're also, I'm sure, training muscle memory and different things like that.
Yeah, so the work has to be done. You still have to revise it all, but you pick it up faster. It's just like if you haven't ridden a bike in a while, you still know how to. You just not bunny hopping off gutters as well as you used to.
You mentioned that he had a little bit of a rough run after what happened in it was Melbourne, right, where you two were supposed to fight. What did you attribute that to? Because like you said, he's very dangerous, he's very elite, but for a little bit the results weren't there. What did you think was the problem there?
That's the problem with the game itself. It's just you can have the best camp and be on top of the world and still come in short that night. It's just that's just the nature of the beast, honestly. When you're fighting literally the best in the world, someone's got to lose, right? Mm-hmm.
You said that after you threw your little Robert temper tantrum about the fight changing, and then you're like, hey, this is what I do, I'm here to fight. But did any part of you say, I kind of thought I was going to be fighting for a championship after I beat Jared Cannonier anyway. I got to fly to the U.S. for this. Now my opponent's changing, which is not something that I really appreciate. I'm competing at the highest level. That you think another opportunity is going to come along. I mean, I guess what I'm asking is why take this fight at the end?
I guess all those thoughts go through my head. I'm a thinker. So, but honestly, I had done. Like we were most of the way through the camp. Like we were at the stage of just wrapping up, and I had dieted for so long, and I had made plans around the fight, and I had made plans. That slot was booked to fight, and I was gonna fight. That's when I had down the fight, and that's when I was gonna fight. I was ready for a fight. I'm fit. The skill sets are there. Like I said, I had done previous work on Gastelum, and then I've had fights with southpaws recently. So the change wasn't too drastic. It was just, it's the right time to fight. The other option is sitting out fighting whenever, and then how do I get I don't know. That's not enough fighting this year. I want to fight. I want to be active. I want to, I want to work.
Is there also this feeling that even though I've heard you say that you feel like you've earned a title shot, that earning something and then actually getting it are two different things sometimes in this sport? Do you feel like you need one more win, or otherwise a title fight isn't going to happen?
Honestly, I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it too much. I guess if I gave it more thought, I'm sure it'd annoy the hell out of me. So I don't concern myself. It's my biggest thing is just to win the next fight, and eventually I'll get there.
Yeah. Is it hard not to come in with is it hard not to feel sometimes that? I don't think anybody has anything against you. In fact, I've heard UFC executives speak very, very highly of you, for years. But just because maybe of the way that the fact that you have lost to Israel already, is that it just seems like they always kind of want a different option. Like it's almost like you're going to have to force their hand. Like is that an annoyance in a game that's supposed to reward results?
Like I said, it's very hard for me to answer that because I don't think about it at all. If you fall down that rabbit hole of the politics and the dynamic of the game and how you to get this fight and that fight and call out and build this and do that, it's just too much. Like the simplicity of the sport is why one of my loves for it. It's just you get ready, you turn up, you fight, and then if you win enough, generally you get it to the top, and that's a real simple strategy for me. But it
doesn't get much more simple than that.
It keeps my head clear of all that, all the chatter, and it's fun. It's what I do.
Mm-hmm. What's kind of going through your head, or what are your emotions like when you are sitting in your own self-isolation in a hotel room? Because you've talked about how you burned out at one point in the sport, then you refound it, and now your opponent changed, but you're fighting a guy, a very good guy, here in a week. Are you like happy? Are you looking forward to it? Nerves? What kind of is going on inside? 7 days before a fight.
7 days before a fight. I don't know. I don't think about it, to be honest. I just enjoy playing video games. So I'm playing tons of video games. I got this sweet Omen beast of a laptop that I've just been grinding on, and I just focus on the weigh-in because that's the first step. And the weigh-in, the post-weigh-in is kind of like the first highlight of the whole trip. That's the thing I'm most excited for because you can just eat whatever you want. It's pretty good. And then the fight is work. If you think about it too much, it's just stress. You start thinking about all the pressure and what you got to do. It's just stressful. So I don't think about it till day of, and then fight, go home.
Yeah. You said you can eat whatever you want. I think all of us, even not fighters, we don't understand what the fighters go through, but we do know that feeling of like maybe you're just real hungry. You're like, man, what am I going to eat tonight? And you're thinking about. So when you know that you get to eat, but then you got to compete 24 hours later. I mean, how do you plan out what you're going to eat today?
There's a science to the rehydration, refueling for sure. And although I said you eat what you want, I'm not going out there going crazy. I have my treats and things like that to make me happy. You would, but I take it very serious. But trust me, life is much brighter when you have access to things like bread.
I think that's something a lot of us would agree with. So you're not really looking ahead, of course. You're not worried about where the title fight is. But did you watch Israel move up in weight and fight Jan Blachowicz at UFC 259?
Did.
And what did you think as the fight unfolded?
I thought Israel would be able to control it more, but Jan fought so well. His patient strategy and obviously his Polish power was just a real threat, and you could see Izzy was having trouble trying to lead the fight where he wanted it. So then with the takedowns on the back end, just sealing the deal, it was a great fight, very smart fight from Jan. That's why he's the champ.
Did you feel like Izzy made any mistakes?
Hard to say. Very hard to say, and hindsight is remarkable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Of course. If they were to fight 50 more times, and I'm giving full credit to Jan, but I'm just curious as to. Did you feel like it was just an adjustment that Izzy needed to make, or the fact that just going up in weight and Jan is supremely talented, that it would go the same way if they fought again?
If you would ask me this before they fought, I would say Izzy would win more times than not. But after seeing Jan adjust, and this is before they fought, and also being able to handle that strike and being able to handle the shots, being able to make Izzy cautious and wary of his own. I think Jan would have to be the favourite moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned patience, and that it reminds me of when I spoke to you. That was right after Izzy beat Paulo, and everyone was like, "Man, Izzy just looks so good," And I asked you, what is it going to take to beat this guy? And you said you can't go at him. He's just too good of a counter striker. Yeah. You have to be really patient. So when you were watching that fight unfold, were you learning along the way, and were you like, what did you take from Jan's patience? I mean, can you kind of just take us into your mind a little bit when you're watching that?
Well, you see, it just confirmed a lot of my theories for a solid strategy to fighting Izzy, which would be to try and wrestle him once he gets tired in the later rounds, not the early rounds, because you'll gas and you'll get hurt. Because you need to be sharp with him. He's got very effective striking, but patience is very important when fighting him because he is such a good counter striker. The problem with that is though, he's very good at outside fighting, so you can't be too patient. Otherwise, he picks you apart and beats you on points. It's a trick. That's the game. That's why it's fun.
Mm-hmm. When you were watching that fight, did any part of you kind of think, I kind of hope Izzy pulls this out? Because you, as a competitor, you want to take his undefeated record. You want to be the guy to beat him first. Did that thought cross your mind at all watching that fight?
Not at all. I don't care who beats him. I just want to see him get beaten.
Yeah. Does it matter to you though if you ever do fight him again? Because I asked you again, last time we spoke, you said the belt has never really mattered all that much to you. So I thought, well, maybe it's not the belt. Maybe it's Izzy. Does it matter if you fight him again?
It's not something I'm chasing. Like it's now my career's ambition is to fight him a rematch because I lost to people before. I'm not going around trying to chase Wonder Boy. Yeah. I guess it'd be a nice fight. I think it's more of a cherry on top if I get that fight again and it's for the title because both paths kind of lead to the same destination. But more or less, it is what it is. I'm in this fight game. I just want to fight.
Yeah. So we're in April, and you said that you wanted to be active this year. What's active in your mind if you laid out the blueprint of your ideal year?
Yeah, I guess I get another fight in at the end of the year. I would have liked to have gotten 3 in, but I guess with this fight pulling up so late in the year, it'd be very hard without backing up real fast. And who knows how the fights go, right? So I predict at least, at the very least, 1 more.
Mm-hmm. If this fight were, 2 weeks from now, and it was going to be in a sold-out arena, would you have been comfortable with that?
Where?
If it had been in a sold-out arena in Florida instead of an Apex in Las Vegas, would you have been okay with that?
Well, I would have been okay with anything. Yeah. I don't make those rules. Yeah. But I probably prefer the quieter arena. I don't know. I don't know because it's a bigger octagon than the other one.
Yeah.
And the Apex is a small octagon. I liked Abu Dhabi. That was wicked. I really like that place. I really like Fight Island.
Yeah. I mean, why not? It's all isolated. You never leave the hotel anyway. It's kind of just like a built for Rob Whittaker experience.
Yeah, it is. It is my island. It was really good.
Well, last question for you. I got to ask this because, after you beat Cannonier, and of course, all of the most obvious questions, hey, what's next? You got a title fight, this, that, and whatever. And all you talked about was, I want Christmas. I want to enjoy Christmas. It was like you were looking forward to Christmas more than anybody I knew last year. So how did it go? What did you eat? And how high did the weight get?
No, it was unbelievable. The weight never gets too bad. I don't become like a ball, but I do. But it's all within workable limits. It was great. I had a great Christmas and great period. And then the birth of my new son. It was unbelievable, and look to replicate it again this year. So,
with Christmas and a baby again?
not a baby, definitely not a baby.
Just the nice Christmas.
Just a good Christmas.
All right, perfect. Well, hey man, we appreciate the time, and we're really looking forward to this fight against Kelvin Gastelum, man. Best of luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.